We want to align their time to buy, again, to buy, not sold, buy with our time to sell them. We align their time to buy with our time to sell them. Sometimes they're just not ready. And no amount of pressure that you can give to someone is going to take a person who's not ready, especially not now. I mean, you know, there was all kinds of stuff that people used to do in the 60s, all kinds of different closes, and they had different names. And give you an example, right? Real popular in the used car business, what we called the impending event close. The impending event close went like this. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm totally okay if you want to think it over, but the price goes up on Monday. Right? Totally okay if you want to think it over, but the price goes up on Monday. Now, in 1959, when Mrs. Jones looked at Mr. Jones and Mr. Jones looked at Mrs. Jones and said, well, geez, if that's the case, we should probably buy it today at the lower price. You tried to pull that on Mrs. Zavis, you know what she'd say? Well, I guess it's my loss, and would have no problem walking right out the door because we know it was BS then. Now, for sure, we know that it was BS. We align our time to sell with their time to buy. Right? And maybe it's not just today, but here's the mistake a lot of people make. This is my fancy-dancy graph, right? This is my graph. So when I'm talking to somebody and they are interested, right? Because most people start neutral, right? But when they're interested in something, no matter what it is, they slightly tilt off center. So I don't know if the focus will pick that up. But my fingers are slightly tilted off. If that's straight up, my fingers are slightly tilted off center. So maybe they're interested. Maybe you met somebody at a party and you're a travel agent and you said, we've got a great deal on Hawaii. Right? And the guy says, you know what? I got an anniversary coming up. My wife has always wanted to go to Hawaii. That's something to think about. So now we've got a person who is slightly tilting towards the positive. Right? But you, being the travel agent that you are, seeing a sense of opportunity. Why? Because your bait's always in the water. You're going to send that person an email the following Monday, and you're going to say, Mr. Bob, I remember what you said about, possibly having an anniversary coming up, and that your wife always wanted to go to Hawaii. I thought I'd send you some information, right? So right now you're tilted slightly towards the positive about going to Hawaii. But now, being a poor travel agent, 2 days later, now you send them an email. And you say, Bob, you ready to book that trip for that fabulous anniversary? And 2 days after that, you call them. And you say, hey, listen, I've got some tickets for the middle of February, right? 2 days before your anniversary, so you can have your anniversary on Maui. And every 2 days, you text them and you email them and you call them. And now what happens is their slight tilt towards the interest now has gone where? Now it's tilted towards the negative, right? Now you're a pain in the ass. Now any goodwill that you've had about their buy, right? Because they feel what? Now they feel like they're sold. Even though a person just said, we have an anniversary coming up and my wife always wanted to go there. So now you tilted them from slightly positive into absolutely negative. Now, not only is Hawaii off the table, but clearly you being involved with any trip are off the table as well. And now, when they see your emails, they see your name on email, they don't even read it. They do it. If they see your text, they don't respond to your text. They just go ahead and block you out, right? You call, and your name comes up in the caller ID, immediately goes a decline. You align your time to sell them with their time to buy. And why? Because everyone likes to buy. Nobody likes to be sold. Now it's getting closer and closer to this guy's anniversary. And he knows he's done a terrible job in every other anniversary, right? Terrible job. And it's getting closer and closer. And he hears that tick of the clock. And he knows now he's going to let his wife down for another year. But in the back of his mind, he knows a way that he could be the knight on the white stallion. And all he has to do is pick up the phone and call you. That's how you align your time to sell them with their time to buy. Why? Because everyone likes to buy. And when he calls you and says, listen, you know what? I kick this can down the road every year. I know it's less than 30 days. I know I'm probably going to pay more because I procrastinated, but I want this to be the year. Do you think even the worst travel agent can make that sale? I do. Because when they're ready to buy, selling them is a foregone conclusion. Why? Because everybody likes to what? To buy. Nobody likes to be sold. So your way of getting to yes is essentially not putting any kind of inhibitors, not putting any friction in the process, not doing anything that's going to make it more difficult for them to buy. We're always going to keep our bait in the water.